welcome back to Cine Nerds, where we talk about movies bi-weekly or sometimes during the month because, yeah, we have to address that. I am very sorry. I am your host, Isabel, and here are the rest of the crew.
We are the crew.
The crew.
We are an amalgamation. We're a blob.
We are legion, for we are many.
We just
Exacto.
separate like cells when we need to, and then we just combine.
Exacto, we just combine
Yeah,
into
we do like
a movie
fusion.
blog. Yeah.
We do like a fusion dance and become a single entity.
Mm-hmm. We
How
become
would
the
a
Cine
fusion
Nerds.
dance between three, though. Just
Así, mira. Bonito.
algo
the
malo va a
universe
pasar
rules.
ahí, no es por nada.
Oh yeah, something like that.
Sí, pero if we miss, we miss.
Oh yeah, but you know what happens. So
That's fun.
So, take it away, Josue.
All right, so today we are talking about the Oscars. As of the time of recording, the Oscars were just last night. We got a couple of fun things to talk about. Let's first talk about the 94th Academy Awards ceremony. Should we just address the elephant in the room? Should we
the
address
sad elephant in the room that consumed 2 days of social media already? Sure.
It is
It's been only a day. That was last night.
It feels like 2 days already.
It feels like a week.
It is telling. So before the Oscars, all I kept hearing is like, wow, they are so desperate. The Oscars are so desperate to be relevant. We got 3 female hosts. One of them is Amy Schumer, which is a controversial comedian. Not a lot of people like her. And then it's like, oh, this is going to suck. So I'm like, I'm not going to pay money to watch a stream of this. I'm just going to see who won next morning.
Sure.
Imagina mi sorpresa cuando yo me despierto, prendo el celular y lo primero que veo, not just on like social media, YouTube, everywhere, the slap.
Yeah.
The slappening.
The slappening.
The slap heard.
Slapsgiving.
The slap heard across the cosmos.
Yes.
Wait, y'all, I don't know if you guys have seen How I Met Your Mother.
The slap.
Yeah, just like that. It was his turn.
Mm-hmm.
It was unexpected. It was his turn.
Less about like the reasons why and whether it's justified and whatnot. I'm not so much interested in that because I've never been interested in celebrity drama, but it is kind of sad on the state of the Academy Awards where that's like the thing that takes center stage and everything else is just whatever, it's by the wayside.
Everything was forgotten.
It's not the drama anymore. It's about the overshadowing now of the Oscars. Is so important for us to know, who won Best Picture, Best Actor, but it got overshadowed by this thing that happened.
This
for like a minute, 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Just 2 minutes and then done. Los Oscars terminaron.
Mm-hmm. Así empezaron y así se acabaron because that's when everyone started watching and that's when everyone dipped afterwards.
In an alternate universe, the slap never happened, and we'd be talking about how people are complaining about how this is the cringiest ceremony yet or whatever,
and the most boring too. Most predictable. There's so many.
But then
sí, como que decayó año por año. It kept being so repetitive, same jokes, same things happening.
Mm-hmm.
That en verdad it wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't, who's gonna win? It's just just another award show.
Yeah, I'm just looking up real quick. Like the ratings for the Oscars have been in a sharp decline since 2010s. It just keeps going down and down.
Yeah.
There's a slight peak in around 2014ish, and then it just nosedives pretty much.
Yeah, este año was slightly better than last year, pero not by much. It's still the second worst in terms of viewership numbers, so it was still pretty awful. They've obviously gotten very desperate, pero es también porque son bien retrógradas en cuestión de what's appealing to people and how people view shit now, because people are not gonna go watch cable TV to watch the stupid Oscars. Entonces, si no está así, it's behind a paywall in Hulu Plus. Y si no es así, you have to see it in a stream. So people are like, we don't care. We're just going to see on Twitter lo que la gente diga y se acabó, because no one's going to sit around for 3 hours to see these celebrities just stroke their egos constantly. Por joder. It becomes boring and people are not interested in that anymore.
Y también es la comediería de la academia that they're like, they are so desperate to go like, okay, we'll throw you guys a bone without putting any effort to it.
Yeah.
Like a couple of years ago, they wanted to introduce the best popular movie category,
Which they
and
did.
now
They did now. They implemented that. They
no,
finally
but
did
did
it.
they implement one where it's like people get to vote on it?
Yes, that's what exactly they did this year.
And of course, because the internet being the internet, they're still obsessed with this. The internet wanted to vote for Zack Snyder's director's cut of Justice League.
But it did not get nominated
Well,
because the Oscars said it
it didn't
wasn't.
qualify.
It didn't qualify. So what did everyone do? They were like, "Oh, really? Okay, we're just gonna nominate the other Zack Snyder movie that happened last year, just out of pure spite." That's great. I mean, that's lovely. That's the power of the internet right there.
Yep. So it's like, how out of touch do you guys have to be to not get that this was a thing that was gonna happen?
Yeah. And in third place, it was the Johnny Depp movie that literally no one saw. And it only got boosted because the whole Johnny Depp thing. So
Wait, hold on. Which Johnny Depp movie? Ahora yo me estoy enterando de esto.
So there was a Johnny Depp movie that came out on streaming yet last year, pero not a lot of people saw porque obviamente it got buried because of the whole thing with Amber Heard. Pues because some people were obviously upset with the Amber Heard thing and they wanted to like give a shout out to the movie. Pues en tercer lugar, in that top 5 list de películas del año pasado, creo que se llama la película Minimata or something. It's like a weird ass name. I was like so confused. And then someone in the comments, because we were streaming it live in the movie guy yesterday, they addressed it and they were saying, no, that's the Johnny Depp movie that got released on streaming services and no one saw. And I'm like, oh, so that's why that was picked. Because people were doing a concerted effort to vote for that movie. Lo mismo pasó con Cinderella because a lot of people like Camila Cabello, ¿cómo se llama ella? Yeah, that's why she has a big following. So obviously that's why it was in second place. It only got bested because Snyder Bros are way stronger than Cabello fans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is more a pelea who's more of a fan of that specific movie than anything.
For sure, of course.
And I understand the whole, we want recognition for Johnny Depp, but this has to do with movies. This doesn't have to do with.
It's a popularity contest. That's the whole point. Es que eso es lo que pasa cuando tú introduces algo así. That's why people think they know what they want, but I'm going to say right now, they don't know what they want. They think they do.
Really don't.
They think they do, but they don't.
That's why it's so frustrating when studios interfere with movies. No, because the audience wants this. Let the audience experience something they didn't know they wanted.
Exacto. That's when it's better.
They didn't know they wanted Star Wars. They didn't know they wanted The Matrix. They didn't know they wanted Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is what you get. This like the Joker said, this is what you freaking deserve. That's it. Que es la que hay. Yeah. Like everything became like a protest vote. Half of those things were just weird protest votes. And when the sheer-worthy moment, they picked like Dreamgirls and the Matrix and like... These are such bizarre choices. Like, yo entendí the Spider-Man choice and the Endgame choice, and I guess the Flashpoint choice, porque whatever, people like fucking Zack Snyder y todo el mundo está en Twitter. Pero Dreamgirls was such an odd pick for like a cheer-worthy moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bien raro.
That was just one type of nomination, or was it a couple of them?
So, look, they did was, it was a top 5 of fan cheer-worthy moments. Que I thought it was from the last year, but apparently it was just anything goes.
No limit. Uh-huh.
But then there was the other category was top 5 fan favorite films. Y eso se supone que fuera last year. That's why they wanted to vote for Zack Snyder's movie. But then they did this caveat de que no, tiene que ser películas que were released in movie theaters, which whatever, it's a weird caveat, pero that's why everyone out of protest, they voted for Army of the Dead, which was a film that was released in theaters too. Stupid. They should have, like Josué said, they should have known. They should have known this was going to happen. But no sé, por querer tener la relevancia de tener viewership numbers get a bump or whatever. They did una colaboración con TikTok. Like, what more do you have to say about this? It's obvious they're very desperate.
Yeah, the Academy is like that. They want to present this prestige, but they don't want to like tarnish their hands with what they deem lesser art. Yeah. And it's like, ay, fumas un peo, de verdad. You uptight, pretentious douchebags.
Which, you know what? If the least they would commit to that, I'd be fine. But then they don't. Porque esa es la cosa.
Yeah.
They son hoity-toity, Pero como están tan desesperados, they freaking put Shaun White and Tony Hawk to give it an award. But like, what the fuck is that? Like, or we in the 2000s? I don't understand eso. Like, who are you appealing to?
It doesn't make any sense. Nickelodeon anymore.
Exacto, por eso que te digo, like, either commit y sé la cosa más hoity-toity del mundo, fine, but understand that you're not going to get any viewers, but don't try to placate Gen Zers and millennials with stupid random shit, and then at the same time still try to be like hoity-toity and uppity. ¿Me entiendes? It doesn't make any sense.
Like, una taza de rolo, como siempre digo.
Full.
Like, it's like if they're trying to present themselves as we are the best cinema has to offer, then why do you guys have to ignore a good chunk of cinema just because it's popular?
That's fair.
Like, I get that you could make the argument that a lot of popular films would not qualify to be considered the finest, the pure art of the cinema, but at least give it a look, you know?
Well, they did. It's called the Twitter Award.
I meant to do it well.
Okay, está bien, pero...
Like, overall, it's dying. The whole award shows is dying because of that.
Yeah, we're in the 94th. Do you guys think the Oscars are gonna make it to their 100th?
Oh, they're gonna rush right. Yeah, they're gonna push to 100 for sure. Maybe after 100 they'll reevaluate what the hell they're gonna do. Pero they'll always have an award ceremony of some kind because they need to, fillet themselves every year. So they'll find a thing.
From this, it birthed other award shows that doesn't really even have to do with movies.
Full también.
¿Cómo se llama? Los streamies. Que también that was born. Now there's award shows for everything.
Yep. You're totally right.
Oh, poor Game Awards. They're trying so hard to be.
Oh, the Game Awards are the worst, but at least they show good trailers.
That's the only reason to watch the Game Awards.
We'll watch it. Yeah, that's the only reason I would watch it. But the Game Awards declined even in the beginning because they didn't give us a choice.
Yeah.
Us, the consumers, the choice to pick which game is the best because, and this might be controversial, I am sorry, but Last of Us 2 shouldn't have won at all.
Didn't it win everything? I thought they did. I don't remember.
Ellos ganaron best game of the year. And I'm here like, what happened to Ghost of Tsushima?
See. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Ghost of Tsushima was so good.
It's so good, so well done. Even the reactions of every single
but you know why The Last of Us 2 won. You don't
know. You'll say.
Okay.
All right, but that's
my argument. Como que
I love how we started as just bashing the Academy Awards, and now we're just bashing award ceremonies for entertainment in general.
Entertainment in general, but I mean, it is like bash because there's only a few that lets the consumer choose, and then there's the majority that is directors, critics, and all that stuff, and like 1% of the consumer choice.
Yeah, I guess it is when you prostrate yourself as a sort of big award that'll claim to be to determine the best, you are opening yourself up to a lot of failure and scrutiny.
Of course.
Oh yeah. But that's the risk they're willing to take. That's why they started doing all this.
Exacto.
Why did the Oscars start? That's something I gotta look into.
Why they start? Bueno, porque llevan como que 10 años haciendo cine, and they were like, oh, we need to like acknowledge all these great motion pictures. Get some motion pictures.
It also might have been like a push because cinema, when it started out, was looked down upon as not even art. So maybe I would have this. That's a fun thing I can research, but I would guess that they did it to try and show like, no, it is art.
Yeah, there's a prestige to it. Yeah.
I mean, if we are up to that challenge to do just an episode talking about the history of cinema, wouldn't be.
Oh no, that's like I had so many classes that I took on that.
I
mean, what better way?
I'd have to do a deep dive on that. Refresh my memory from film school. But yeah,
I literally gave a cinema history course like 2 years ago. So yeah, I have a pretty fresh.
Nunca estudié cinema, pero I have a huge appreciation to cinema. I'm like, I haven't studied shit.
Okay, fair enough.
So I'm curious.
Se puede.
I waste my time while most people like watch stupid pet videos. I like to look up videos on like the history of entertainment mediums in between stupid pet videos.
Of course. Yeah, needs to take a break.
Yeah, it's the whole comedic relief that you
Exacto,
need
exacto.
between
Yeah.
heavy information.
Heavy information like whether or not we should acknowledge Birth of a Nation, even though. Oh, you should do some homework on the movie Birth of a Nation,
Oh
the
no.
one from the 1920s.
On it, and I'll
No,
give
no.
my small little essay for next time.
Because I know
Is it
there was
problematic for me to say, even though it's a problematic movie, it's still important for cinema in a sad way?
that is the main debate. Like, yeah,
Okay, por eso.
is it important enough that we should discuss it, or should we really look at other films of its contemporaries to discuss it instead? Because we'd rather
We could
not
do
talk-
both. Lo que pasa es que even around that period of time,
Mhm.
eso era tan trascendental en comparación con todo lo demás que es bien difícil como que compararlo, porque es como decir cuando Citizen Kane salió, nothing in the vicinity was even close to what Citizen Kane was doing. So that's the problem.
And there is an argument to be made that it's like we really shouldn't erase history. We gotta look at it at even in the ugly sides. Just
Claro.
all right, Bells, just to give you an idea, Birth of a Nation is a Civil War movie from the perspective of the South, where the Ku Klux Klan are the good guys.
Yeah. Great film. It just so happens that no, porque en parte también it's like a weird Romeo and Juliet movie. Because it's like a war epic, it's a romantic story, and then at the end of the third act, the Ku Klux Klan just barrages over everyone and they win.
Okay.
Yep.
And it is credited as being like setting the template of the modern blockbuster.
Yes.
I think I set myself up trying to make an essay out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just so you know what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No worries, I'll try my best.
Yeah. Also, it's like 3 hours long, just so you.
Mere,
And it's a silent film.
Exacto. So there you go.
I'm gonna be live texting you guys, just saying.
Okay, cool.
That would be amazing.
I'm dragging you guys with me.
Dale.
Y'all
Yeah,
not
we
seeing it, but you can hear my voice. Like
Awesome.
We are
Stuff.
going all
terrible
over
choices.
the place.
Mhm.
Man, we are going all over the place with this Academy Award talk.
Yeah.
I
From
mean, it's basic cinema we're just talking about at this point, but
yeah,
entiendo.
you know that if an Academy Award would have existed by the time of Birth of a Nation, it would very well have been nominated for Best Picture.
It would have won everything. Again, before that movie, all we got was like 10-second clips of people walking. That's like the cinema that existed before. ¿Me entiende?
So this is basically the first movie.
No, not the first movie, but the first epic. I would argue it's the first epic or
Yeah,
the first
it is.
well-known
It's
epic.
It sort of set the standard on how like movies are edited and stuff.
Exacto. Lo más cerca es cuando hicieron El viaje a la luna, que lo hizo Méliès. That's like a very short form storytelling device, pero lo que pasa es que es cortito. Y aún así, the editing techniques que aplicaba y como que el flow de historia era un poquito wonky. Like, there's a story there, but you kind of like have to be like really pendiente because you're going to be, te vas a pelear bien cabrón. Cuando llega Birth of a Nation, él tiene una construcción de arco. Like, he has a 3-act structure. It has the beginning, middle, and end. It has un downfall, un climax, una resolución. Like, it actually goes through its actual como que narrative construction, the story structure. Pero it's about, you know, Ku Klux Klans.
I'll try and see it with the perspective of just looking at the edits and how everything was made, and
todo es impresionante, con cojones.
Yeah, but much like a lot of the country where cinema was born, there's a huge foundation of racism. And for people who wonder why award shows love to give awards for movies about anti-racism or ethnic minorities and stuff, it's their way. It's their way of trying to say, yeah, we're sorry.
Yeah, it's a course correcting to the point where they give it to like the Green Book, which is a shit film.
Yeah, and Crash. I can't wait.
Oh, Crash, right?
I can't wait till we get to that.
Yeah, Bella. Yeah, I said cuando in their pursuit of overcorrecting themselves, they just miss the ball so hard. But
yeah. But speaking of
Oscars
and movies that shouldn't have won but won, the 2010 that we
Well,
are
before
speaking.
I don't know. Before we go there, I think we should just go with a since we already talked about everything except the actual nominations of this year.
That's true. That's true.
So we had. Let's start with the big one, like best picture. The one who won was Coda.
Yeah.
Yes.
Coda, according to the synopsis, it is a coming-of-age comedy drama film written and directed by Cyan Heder, an English language remake of a French-Belgian film, La Famille Bélier. So, would you guys agree with this being Best Picture?
Para lo que es, sí. In my personal pick, no. Pero para lo que es, sí.
All right. Care to elaborate?
Bueno,
Ok. Pues, para las tendencias que tienen los Oscars, me sorprende un poquito el choice, but I understand where they're coming from. They're picking the movie que talks about disabilities in a positive light. O por lo menos it addresses the issues head on in a wholesome type of way. So, because the movie is not very cynical. It's not like a lot of the other movies que tienden a tener una tangente más cínica. This is a very wholesome movie overall. It's a very easygoing movie. It's a movie que, pues, like I said, it shows a lot of a diverse cast of disabled people, right? Y los struggles de la gente en esa comunidad. So I think that because of those things, that's why in the end it was highlighted to be the one that won. Pero granted, ese shift en opinión pasó towards the end of like the Oscar race thing, how they call it. Porque for the longest time, it was going to be at the beginning Belfast. That fell off quickly. Then it was The Power of the Dog for the longest time. And then I guess some weird consensus came to be, donde they started realizing que Coda felt like a more important film for it to win que lo que era The Power of the Dog. But again, por el mensaje y por la gente que está envuelta en la película. Because the Oscars a veces no, casi todo el tiempo, no tienden a dar el Best Picture Award to the movie that deserved it. Instead, they usually give it to the movie they deem to be more culturally relevant and impactful in the coming years. So for that reason, I understand por qué fue Coda. Bells, what do you want to say?
I watched Coda this morning, so I have it freshly in my mind, and thank God that it doesn't show in my eyes because I cried like crazy. I didn't think that a story so simple would be so impactful, and it had to do with disability for sure. So I do understand your point, Orengo. For the story out of itself, taking that out of context, I don't think it would have even be a nomination because it's something we've seen before.
Yeah. It's a very simple story del underdog que quiere echar pa'lante. They have a dream and they want their dream realized. You've seen it a thousand times.
Sometimes it's just a matter of how you spin a classic tale.
Exacto. And I think que también the kid in
Yeah, you gotta show him.
Opinion. Yeah. She has an opinion.
Oh, you gotta show her.
She has an opinion, okay.
Boy. She has an opinion. You want to say your opinion? Midnight?
Oh.
Isn't she adorable?
Dámelo.
No opinion? You good? Did you like it?
Give me. Sí, está shy.
No. He's like, okay, nobody can see me. Okay, I'm going to talk shit.
Exacto. Cara que me quedé. But yeah, like la historia es bien unassuming. It's como dice Josué. It's how you spin it. It's how you work around it. Pero también es nice porque out of all the movies, it really was the underdog. Porque esa era la película que salió a Sundance. Después Apple la compró porque Apple saw something that, not a lot of people were seeing and they give the highest bid porque la película la compró por 25 billones, which en Sundance es la película que más, o sea, la película más cara, la película que más chavo le han dado para comprarla en Sundance. Pero es la única película que genuinamente entre todas ellas era la independiente de verdad. Like, it's a bunch of literal nobodies doing this movie en comparación con todas las otras películas que tenían some type of star power, some studio force behind it. So Coda was standing alone in that regard. So I like it también por el aspecto de que out of all the movies, pues está cool darle el reconocimiento a the one that was actually an indie movie entre todas las que estaban nominadas. So yeah.
And the actors in of itself, I did absolutely love.
Great acting.
Great
Wasn't
acting,
one of
great singing voice.
one of the actors didn't one of the actors win best supporting
Yes, sir. El papá.
first deaf actor to
Eso es
to
correcto
win
también.
the award?
Yes, sir.
Which is amazing because never seen that before. But guess what? That was slapped out of
Yeah.
context because it
Por
was
eso.
overshadowed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I believe, in my opinion, I believe it deserved it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like moments like these are definitely what the Academy want to lo que ellos quieren fomentar con las discusiones.
Yep.
But then they do shit like having these three comedians be the hostesses and doing these awkward skits and
It shouldn't have been there in the first place, to be honest. It should have
yeah.
just
That assault skit was great.
bello.
Magnifique. These two men just awkwardly looking at everyone while she was patting them down. It was ridiculous.
I'm good.
Oh my
Also,
God.
see, I am kind of impressed because honestly, I didn't really understand the movie, but I kind of impressed to a point where the power of the dog was, in thoughts of actually winning. Because when I saw it, I was still trying to figure out what was the main plot or the main, I guess, reason in the movie. And I texted you when that happened. I'm still super lost.
Mira, la película Power of the Dog is about Doctor Strange. After he finishes the multiverse of madness, he went to the Sam Raimi universe and he started messing with MJ in the past. They both became cowboys and cowgirls, and he was fucking around with her. And she got sick, she got drunk, she became a drunkard, and Toby wasn't there to save her. Just Jesse Plemons was there to save her. That was the movie.
Still don't think it should have been a nominee.
¿Quién?
The Power of the Dog.
Bueno, the movie was nominated. ¿Qué tú dices?
No, it shouldn't have been nominated.
It shouldn't? Ooh,
yeah.
That's a spicy take. Because I really like that movie too.
I cannot.
Okay.
I am pleasantly surprised to see Dune get nominated just because the Academy just doesn't like to acknowledge genre films.
Oh, they do if it's artfully made. But that's it.
It's a very anticipated movie. Even when it's based on a book, it's not. I haven't seen much of Best Picture nominated that were based on the book, right?
Bueno, based on books, sí, con cojones.
No, but based on books, definitely. But like, if it's set on a sci-fi or fantasy setting,
sci-fi, and with so much controversy behind it as well, because of course Star Wars fans had to go batshit insane when it came out.
I mean, it is Star Wars.
It's basically what Star Wars is Star Wars.
Ajá, exacto.
Mátame todo el mundo.
Pues
sí. No, legit. George Lucas would be the first guy to say, like, yeah.
No, sí, el primero.
I took from Dune. I took a lot from Dune.
The dude has not made it a secret that Star Wars is basically everything he ever loved from every movie or book he has experienced put into like one mesh.
For sure. But Dune was a pretty cool movie in my opinion. It deserved its nomination, but it wasn't that impactful.
I didn't think I wasn't saying that Dune deserved the win. I'm just saying that it's a pleasant surprise to see it even get nominated.
No, that's
no sé. If you remember Mad Max Fury Road, eso es otro ejemplo de a genre movie getting a shit ton of awards, porque that movie got a shit ton of awards también, by the way.
That's true.
Granted, he got all the technical stuff, porque eso es lo que hace los Oscars. They recognize genre films up to a point.
That mostly because it's really hard to argue that like a period drama can do needs to do special effects better than like a big sci-fi or fantasy setting. And even then, if it's a really good period drama, they could.
Sí, exacto. Pero, I mean, obviamente en efecto especial el que lo hizo súper bien fue Dune. Y en cuestión de lo técnico, sí, porque el score, cinematography was really well done también, so.
I mean,
You know.
it didn't win Best Pictures, but I'm seeing that it won 6 Oscars.
Yeah, it won the most, obviamente. It won all the technical stuff. Lo
Yeah.
mismo pasó con Mad Max Fury Road. Cuando Mad Max Fury Road estuvo nominado, it got nominated for like 10 Oscars or something like that. It got like a bunch of them too.
And I agree with most of them, to be honest. Best music, best costume, all the technical stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no. It was a very technically made half of a film. Yes.
I mean, yeah, we can
A
argue.
quarter
the
of a
best
movie. A
costume.
third of a movie? It's a third of a movie.
Third. Best
third.
costume, estoy más joven porque había algunos que yo estaba como que,
Uh-huh.
no sé.
Okay.
I have to read the book to understand it, maybe, but it looked too out of place for me from what it is.
Yeah, this book series is massive. If this is allowed to become a franchise, maybe there are some things that'll be cleared up with every subsequent.
I mean, they left it with a major cliffhanger, so they have to continue it. And it did win the amount.
Oh, no. Eso ya está cumplido. It's going to happen.
Yeah. Like, unlike the first attempt of a Dune movie, this one actually was a big enough hit to warrant a follow-up.
Exacto.
I mean, their actor choices were pretty spot on as well.
But I'm disappointed because we don't see Sting in an iron Speedo.
Sadness. You always have the original.
Yeah.
Always have the original.
That original is so weird.
Josue, what do you think? Coda should have won? Or
I think I agree with everything Orengo said. It's just, even if it's like the same basic story that we've seen a lot, seeing it from the perspective of people who are in disability, who don't have a voice very often in these big mediums, is what sets it over other films, you know? It's the kind of movie that I wonder if in the future we'll look back at it and say, yeah, that was the right choice. Which is sort of the segment that we're going to get into soon. This idea of when we look back, do we still agree with the winner's choice of that year?
Yeah. I would say Coda does have a feel, and this is just a weird comparison, and this is taking, of course, out of context that they're deaf people. Very High School Musical-ish.
Claro, esto Glee. And that's why I kind of like it too, because I like Glee and I like Pitch Perfect. So, eso.
Pitch Perfect was a movie that every time I would say I've never seen it, they'd be like, "You haven't seen it?"
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot.
And then I saw it, and I'm like, "This is it."
Yeah. No es la gran cosa. Es que,
I found the main character so annoying.
Okay. I'm just there for the music. So
I was like, "Girl, what is this chip you have on your shoulder?"
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't caved in for everybody who has.
Basically, what I love is throughout half the movie, everyone is like, her dad is like, "I'm gonna pay for your studies," and that everybody in the pitch team are like, "You're a great singer. We're glad to have you here," and she's like, "I hate all of you."
Yeah, basically.
So yeah, it's something we've seen before a couple of times. But given the context of disabilities and these struggles, is, like we said, what made it. But it reminded me a little bit of that type of movie.
Claro. Yeah.
Last note, because I'm just such a big fan of animation. Okay, yeah, I can see why Encanto won. Personally, I'm
Mitchell and the Machines, pa. Mitchell and the Machines.
That movie was great. I fucking love that movie too.
Yeah.
I know the story. I know everything. I haven't seen it, and I will watch it eventually. But how I explain the whole Encanto thing, and again, very controversial. Everybody's gonna fucking kill me. But if it weren't for the music, it's gonna be a normal Disney movie. Punto.
Yeah. That happens a lot, though.
Es la música.
The
música es pegajosa.
The music is what sells it, yeah. And it's also like in this recent series of animated films about there's no villain. The real villain is the generational trauma.
Yeah, and we're seeing that a lot now coming into Disney movies, Pixar movies, and all that stuff. They're kind of tapping into what spirituality, generational curses, and all that stuff, which I love because it creates awareness. It creates, hey, mom, remember this? Okay.
It was this most recently Turning Red. I think there was a third one that people like to bring up in that same group.
Yeah, Turning Red was my favorite, but of course I'm biased because I am diabetic. and I
Mm.
saw so many people with the same thing that I use, which was
Cool.
interesting. And it's the whole inclusion thing. So I felt that for the first time.
I
can't
thought you
wait
were
for
gonna
the.
say that you were biased because you're a girl.
Diabetic. I am
You're
a girl
girl.
too, but since I
¿Viste?
haven't seen Turning Red, I've only seen all the censors, and knowing that the director and her sister are diabetic,
Mhm.
and they wanted to keep that in to create awareness for type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and all in the sorts. I was really happy. And then I saw that they also created awareness for people who are in wheelchairs and
Mhm.
disabilities and all that stuff. They went all in for Turning Red.
Yeah, I can't wait for the inevitable Oscar nomination for that one.
Oh yeah, of course.
Definitely.
It's stuck neatly in the best animation category, just so you don't have to risk having it taint the best picture
Of
nomination.
course.
You can't have that.
To me, Encanto shouldn't. It was good.
Yeah, it was good.
I loved it, but no tuviera de ganar.
I don't know. I kind of like Luca a bit more personally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Luca was good.
Luca was a really nice, like, coming of age story.
So none other best pictures pique your interest? That was it?
I mean, no, not really. Most of these movies, full disclosure, I have not heard of half of these movies.
Está bien, pues yo voy a acknowledge Drive My Car porque it's a sin que no.
Real
no
quick,
tenga
I will
mention
say
to
I am happy. Don't Look Up one. Don't Look Up seemed like the kind of movie would have been like this generation's Crash,
Sure.
where they would have chosen. Oh, we should give this one the award because it talks about stuff, but it's like, yeah, but it doesn't talk about it in the right way.
Yeah, I agree.
It's
a sin that it got nominated, pero pues ni modo.
At least it didn't win.
Oh, thank God.
Another one that actually was nominated was Nightmare Alley, which I was surprised.
Yeah, because it's horrible. I know.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I read everything. I'm like, this doesn't seem like something that would be nominated.
No. Okay, la cosa que when you see it, you'll understand why, pero I just didn't like it.
No, yeah, man.
Well, just looking at this, it's it says American neo-noir psychological thriller from Guillermo del Toro. Okay.
Exacto.
Set in the 1940s. Oh yeah, the Academy loved that shit.
Por eso lo estoy diciendo. Yeah.
They love that shit. They eat
stuff.
that shit up.
Tiene Kate Blanchett, tiene Bradley Cooper, so
directed by Oscar darling Guillermo del Toro.
Por eso te estoy diciendo. Sí, tienen los elementos.
Why I would watch it, because I am a huge Guillermo del Toro fan. But still,
do you like Crimson Peak?
I liked it. It wasn't the greatest.
Okay.
But I did like, the only thing I liked was la escenografía.
But maybe you like Nightmare Alley. Maybe I shouldn't taint your opinion. Maybe you should escucharme a mí, maybe you'll enjoy it more.
Vamos a ver.
Sí.
Either way, I like everybody's opinion before I go in as well, because I get to see everything.
But again, like I said, I want to address Drive My Car. Yusuke Hamaguchi should have freaking won Best Director and Best Movie and Best Original Screenplay. No, adapted, porque era adapted screenplay. Yeah. There I said it. He deserved them all, porque esa es la mejor freaking película de toda ella. Pero like I said, this is not Orengo's Oscars. This is the Academy's Oscars. Y obviamente, they don't have my sensibilities. I like my 3-hour long ass slow burns. And that is exactly what that movie was. And it was amazing.
Slow burns.
It was a beautiful, beautiful slow burn. Esos primeros 40 minutos. Oh, magnifique. That shit is cinema. Cuando Scorsese se sienta con su hija, la puta le dice, see that shit right there, cinema. Lo que tú estás viendo es mierda. Eso es cine, puñeta. Y después la empuja para la vez. You don't know shit.
Si no me equivoco, the director did win an award, but there was an awkward moment, vamos a decir, in the Oscar nomination.
Yeah, because he did get an award. Fue la de Best Original Screenplay. La cosa fue que cuando él se paró, le interrumpieron la música 2 veces y yo encabronado porque es como que, gente, primero que todo, are you supposed to be woke as shit? Segundo que todo, ¿cómo carajo tú seguiste rompiendo al tipo cuando él lleva hablando un solo minuto? Que I would see that shit live. Yo estaba happy que él se ganó algo. 1 minuto y ya le estaban poniendo la música y yo, ¿pero para qué? ¿Pero qué es esta mierda? Like, dejen al pobre hombre hablar. Like, you're probably never going to recognize this man's beautiful work ever again. So please just leave him alone for a minute.
Pero
and they
tipped it off.
No, está cabrón. Ya, chicho, está. I was so upset when they did that shit. Es
I
como
think
que dale. Es que se nota que todo es una cuestión de cumplir. Como ya cumplieron con Parasite, como que, ya, we already did the Asians. We're good. We're Gucci. We don't need to keep addressing them. Ya está, ya, we'll give one to them and we just leave
no,
them fuck
uno
off.
para cada uno.
Ajá, uno para cada uno. Eso es lo que están pensando. Y es como que that shit pisses me the fuck off.
You know that
Maldita
you know
sea.
that whenever we get a Latino at the nominee for that, where they're gonna look back again in Encanto and go, does that count?
Ajá, es que obligado van a decir, bueno, Encanto la película está en español, right? So I think we already did our due diligence. We're good, right?
Tuvimos una boricua ganando Óscar también, de West Side Story.
Bueno, is she really boricua? I mean, I don't know exactly, but sure. I know what's important about her is she's the first black queer woman que gana. Eso sí, for sure. I did not know que ella era latina. Yo no la conozco, ella no está en el barrio conmigo, so yo no sé. Pero
It was
it's so
Best
cool.
Supporting Actress, right?
Yes. Ariana The Boys, I believe
The Boys.
she's called.
Yeah.
Ella fue obviamente la mejor parte de West Side Story by a mile and a half. I hate
As
that
an
fucking
American
movie with
actress.
all my heart. I hate that movie. Pero I cannot deny that she did an excellent work en la película, dado con lo que tenía. Porque obviamente no era un papel tampoco tan meaty, pero
Yo creo que ella es boricua por los padres.
sure, pues está bien, pues fine. Technicality, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah,
It's
but
fine.
she was born in, what was it?
She's probably New York.
North Carolina.
Okay, but there you go. Okay, cool. Está bien, that's awesome.
But still, at least West Side Story got something, even though it was
technically they basically everyone got something when you stop and think about it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Porque Campeón ganó mejor directora, lo de Dune ya lo mencionamos, Cobra también, Drive My Car, West Side Story. So.
It's not like other years where it's like this one movie just dominates.
Exacto. Aquí they kind of sprinkled the love en todos lados.
Which is a breath of fresh air, but at the same time, como que...
No, they've done this for a while now. Esa cosa they kind of placate to kind of everybody, they've done that for the last couple of years. A menos, bueno, last year no, pero yo creo que Nomadland se ganó como 3 premios. So maybe I'm not completely right here. Pero en general, cuando quieres ser un poquito más amorcito todo, pues entonces they kind of like divide un poquito los premios y qué sé yo. Pero
volvemos para el tema, es uno para cada uno, no importa. Ya cuando yo quiero ver para cuando nos toca a nosotros, ¿qué va a ser?
Yeah, of course. Vamos
a ver. Pero yo quiero como que tocar un poquito del 2010.
All right, yeah.
José está ready para...
Yeah, since we've been talking about the Oscars for a while, an idea germinated in my head of like, not every movie that has won Best Film in the Oscars is looked at with the same light as it did at the time. Crash is definitely my favorite example because it's the one I've heard about the most. But we decided to save that for later y queríamos hablar de diferentes películas. Y cuando estábamos buscando y decidimos al fin tocar este tema, we were a little short on time. So I had to pick a year where I had actually seen most of the movies that were nominated that year.
Yeah.
So the 83rd Academy Awards was held on February 27, 2011 to look at the best films of 2010. The winner was The King's Speech, directed by Tom Hooper.
Tom Hooper.
That Tom Hooper who did the terrible Les Mis
magnifique film Cats.
And the even worse film Cats. Yes, I've seen Cats. I was morbidly curious. It was on HBO Max. Like, I have to see what this is all about. And I was
afraid of watching it.
I still wake up screaming.
I believe you.
Exactly what.
I still wake up screaming as I think of the cockroaches with children's faces on them.
I believe you.
Oh no, you're just making it worse. Sprinkle a little bit worse for me because.
Oh yeah.
But we're not talking. But we're not talking about Tom Hooper's failures right now. We're talking about his successes. Arguably one of his biggest success, The King's Speech.
Yep.
It is a movie set during the 1930s, based on real events, where King George IV ascended into the throne, but he had a speech impediment which kept him from properly addressing his subjects. And so he meets this eccentric speech therapist played by Jeffrey Rush, and they form an unlikely friendship as they go.
Barbosa, right?
Yeah, Barbosa from Pirates of the Caribbean.
For our non-cinema nerd fans, Barbosa.
Barbosa from Pirates of the Caribbean. So now now I'm just picturing like this 1940s setting, but it's fucking a pirate, a 16th century pirate.
That'd be dope.
You want to have in your
That'd
head.
be dope.
It would certainly make the movie much more interesting.
Oh yeah.
So I saw it because I had to find out. Okay, let's see it. This is the one that won the award. Just to give you an idea, what it was up against. It was up against movies such as 127 Hours, a movie about survival and what drives a man to commit the ultimate sacrifice in order to fucking survive a horrific event
Based on true stories.
based on a true story. Black Swan, the story of how an obsession to be perfect and be for a role as well as perfect at the eyes of those around her drives a woman insane.
Mm-hmm.
We had Inception, one of the biggest sci-fi movies of its time.
Yeah.
For
Of
sure.
all time, probably.
Of all time, arguably of all time.
Mhm.
Arguably, it is also arguably Christopher Nolan's best film.
For sure.
We can debate that, but I believe
No,
so.
that's why I said arguably. I'm sure that you
Mhm.
can make an argument for some of his other work.
Yeah.
The Social Network, which I like to describe as the modern day Citizen Kane.
Yes.
Not because it's technically the greatest movie ever made, but much like Citizen Kane, it is the story of a man,
Idealistic man.
an idealistic man who gets into this new medium and becomes super rich and super successful while also destroying relationships and friendships all around him.
And his morality gets
And his
corrupted.
morality.
Mm-hmm.
We get True Grit, a remake of a Western classic,
Yep.
retold in a way to changing the theme to be about the futility of revenge.
Mhm.
And Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
One of the few times an animated movie got nominated for Best Picture. Not Best Animated Picture, although it was also nominated for that and won it.
Yeah.
But it was nominated for Best Picture. That is rare.
And there was two more that you didn't mention, I think. Three.
Oh, there's a few others, ones that I'm personally not very familiar with, such as Winter's Bone
Mm-hmm.
and
Great
The Kids
thriller.
Are All Right.
The kids
But I've heard great things
dramedy.
about those. So I'm like, okay, these are great movies. So let's take a look at The King's Speech. It won. It beat out all of us. So it has to be this amazing like period drama.
Mhm.
So I sat down and I watched it and it's fine. That's all I have to say about it. It's fine.
Okay.
It's mostly dialogue between these two main characters. Very good dialogue, to be fair. Like you can really buy the friendship and the challenges they go through, but it's just fine compared to Black Swan, which people were talking about after it came out. Compared to Inception, which like opened people up to possibilities of what sci-fi can do. Compare it to True Grit, which was this awesome Western remake of a classic. That
Toy
really
Story, which like broke every millennial's hearts as they saw
Toy
it.
Story, which was an emotional gut punch. It
Uh-huh.
still makes me cry to this day.
Yeah.
Well, not as much because the fourth one kind of ruined it, but whatever.
Mhm.
But
Still.
these are great movies, and it's like I look at it and I'm like, this is the one that won, and that's because Orengo has the best way of saying. Then I told it to Orengo, and he's like, "Oh, but you know why, right?"
Yeah.
Let Orengo tell you el listado de por qué esto
Okay.
hubiera ganado.
Now I want to hear this.
It's a period piece. It's the type of movie that the Oscars like. It's the classical, typical Oscar beat. It's a period piece. It has a historical figure, which is played by Colin Firth. It has pretty good dialogue. It's a feel-good movie. It has a challenge in this instance. It has a disability. He has a speech impediment, right? So there's like this thing that's kind of new, or you haven't seen so much in a movie being addressed in the film. It has great production design. It's kind of fancy looking. It's not too complicated. It's kind of like you can kind of follow the line of what the story is about, and you can kind of understand everything, the motives, the character arcs, everything. It has all the ingredients to make a very feel-good Oscar-baiting movie that all the Oscar voters, which are 90-plus-year-old white people, be like, oh yes, I love this.
Oh, and it's tangentially tied to World War II.
Verdad,
Because this
Forgot
was
about
the
that.
king who was basically on the throne of England just as World War II started.
Exacto. So you have also that historical background to think about. Yeah, it has all the perfect ingredients. It's like when you talk about shit like The Pianist, stuff like that. It's like now you understand why it beat out everything else. Pero hindsight is 2020. And when you look back 12 years later at these list of movies, some endured, and this one did not at all. So now, like what do you want to talk about? What kind of movies you want to talk about?
I don't know, like I remember. So I have that's my opinion. I just think it's fine. I remember when I brought this year in particular in a meeting for Orengo said, "Esa porquería."
Yep.
So take it away. I want to hear what is your opinion on this movie. Like I thought it was just fine, but you seem to be of the opinion that it's
I have a hate relationship with Tom Hooper desde que él ganó esta película. I've had a hate boner de cuando yo descubrí este hombre y lo descubrí por esta película. I'm like, this man's an idiot, pero como esta película ganó el Oscar, I'm not going to be able to be justified hasta mucho después. And then that man that made Cats 10 years later, so I was vindicated, but it took a while. It took a long while hasta que la gente se diera cuenta that Tom Hooper is a moron. Exacto.
What's interesting is that in recent years, some would say that people reevaluating would say you are vindicated with Les Mis.
Oh, sí, pero even Les Mis, you know what? I actually gave more props to Les Mis than I did for The King's Speech, surprisingly. Porque por lo menos esa película, it falters in a lot of aspects, pero cuando, o sea, el concepto de haberlo hecho, que ellos cantaran en vivo, was very unique, and it's something that it was for the sake of the performance, not so much the showmanship and the spectacle of the song, which I actually appreciate it as a great director's intention. Porque cualquier otro director que hace un musical hubiera dicho, no, let's just make it like very high production y que todo se escuche bien fino, and he was like, no, fuck that. I want them to sing in the moment with the feelings. Y si se escucha mal, se joda. Because I want to capture that moment, and I respect the shit out of him. I shit out of him for that. Cuando yo vi eso, yo dije, you know what, maybe he's not that much of an idiot. Después hizo Cats, se fue toda la mierda. But with that movie, I actually gained a little bit of respect for him for what he did in that film. Pero lo que pasa con The King's Speech es que, y no es que I was already jaded when I was, ¿cuánto fue eso? When I was 20, because that was when I was 20. It's not that I was already jaded, pero es que ese mismo año, cuando he visto películas como, porque ya para ese año, I was very invested, no tanto quizás en los Oscars, aunque sí, yo estaba invested un poquito en los Oscar race, pero yo veía mucho estas películas ya desde como que cuando yo veía la lista decía, okay, it's my mission to see this fucking movie, and I will see them all. So, yo viendo all these movies, y por ejemplo, Inception, que sí la vi en el cine, por ejemplo, The Fighter, yo la vi también en el cine, obviamente Toy Story 3, True Grit, yo me acuerdo que yo hice una noche donde yo vi True Grit y yo vi The Fighter back to back, porque pasó tiempo en el cine de Caribbean Cinema, they would actually put these damn movies in all movie theaters, not just fine arts, so I was actually lucky that I could just see them in the big screen. Entonces yo viendo todas estas opciones, I go ahead and see The King's Speech, and I'm like, I don't understand cómo esta es la fan favorite, which was the fan favorite in that Oscar race for a while, cuando yo estoy viendo cosas como lo que era Inception, cuando estoy viendo cosas como Social Network. Esa es my pick for the one that should have won, porque it's the one that's endured the most in the zeitgeist, in the conversation. No tan solo porque Facebook todavía existe, pero más allá que eso, por lo que Josué dice, I truly believe the same thing that he does. I think this is the modern interpretation, the modern reinterpretation. If there was a remake of Citizen Kane, this shit is the remake of Citizen Kane. Toca los mismos temas de cómo se ve media in today's age y cómo un hombre, un idealista se puede corromper moralmente a través de la misma compañía que él construyó. Es la misma narrativa de Citizen Kane. And I'm pretty sure que la base que tenía David Fincher para hacer The Social Network era fucking Citizen Kane. It's constructed the same way. Todo es una cuestión de interrogación, porque están descubriendo el backstory a través de interrogations, como pasa con Citizen Kane. Y obviamente la narrativa es bastante similar. So es como que teniendo películas que están fenomenal escritas, porque también el jodido guión de Social Network es fucking perfection. It's fucking perfection. Every dialogue and every line delivery is so methodically perfect, que está cabrón. Como después alguien puede mirar estos Oscar voters y decir, I'll get it. What is that Facebook? I like this. I know this shit. I know old school shit. I know Kings and I know World War II. This shit should win. Ya, para carajo.
Which funny thing is, Social Network, like they talk about Facebook, but it's not about Facebook.
Para nada.
It's about the decisions that the people behind Facebook would take and how that destroyed their relationships and their friendships.
Exacto. I mean, thank God que ganó mejor adapted screenplay. Thank God, porque ese sería el colmo también, que no hubiera ganado nada más.
I will say this, after watching this movie finally for the first time this year, I'm like, you know what? I suddenly get why they chose this guy to play Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
It's a shame that the Lex Luthor they gave him was horrible, but
but you can understand. You see it and you're like, I get what the idea was. ¿Me entiende? I can see it too. Pero
it's just a shame he was a better Lex Luthor in this movie than he
was
in the Zack Snyder movies.
Of course.
I digress.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen The Social Network. I was gonna watch it, but things happen. But for me, for the ones that I've seen, Black Swan should have won.
Okay, go ahead.
But that's because I can identify with the story. But that's not the case for the Best Picture. It's not something you can identify. There's other factors to it.
But the problem is que como quiera, it's still arguably a movie that has remained in the conversation way more que the King's Speech.
There's even a following onto it.
Exacto.
It's a brilliant dive into a woman going mad. It's a tragedy, which it's it's the kind of stuff that awards cream their pants over. Tragedies. They used to love that shit.
Yep.
Y yo, como estaba diciendo que Natalie Portman y Mila Kunis fue una de las primeras veces que yo he visto them thrive in their acting.
Mm-hmm.
They actually lived it.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And I feel so identified, even though I was very, very young at that time. But any woman, even little girls can identify with having to be perfect in the eyes of others. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter if you're a ballet dancer or a fisherman.
Still,
you know what I mean?
Still relevant to this day, arguably more so now that our whole lives are being watched constantly.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, because social media had the biggest boom, and now is the world revolves around social media. Your perspective of yourself is around social media, everything. But then Social Network, even though I haven't seen it, and for what you guys explained to me and what I've seen, apart from actually seeing the movie, should have won as well.
It seems like it would have been the most obvious, if nothing else, just with how cinematic criticism goes, precisely because it harkens back so much to Citizen Kane, which is widely considered to be the greatest movie ever made.
But remember, the greatest movie ever made didn't win the Oscar either.
That's true. But
so there you go. If there was hindsight 2020 for anything in life, Citizen Kane is the perfect example of that. Bells, do you know what movie won instead of Citizen Kane?
No.
I don't know either because it doesn't matter.
Was Citizen Kane even nominated?
Yes, it was. At least it was nominated porque carajo, you can't fucking ignore that movie. Okay, it only won one award and it was the script. That's the only thing it ever won.
When it was nominated? I'm sorry.
¿Cómo?
I'm going to look up
what
Citizen
year?
Kane.
It was 1930 something or maybe 40.
Okay, the movie was released in 41, which
there we go, 42.
It would have been 42.
Thank you.
Boy.
And the movie that won was something that no one remembers.
I will let you guys know in a second.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so now Mrs. Miniver.
Sure.
Mrs. Miniver.
Exacto. You know what that is? Do they talk about it in the history books? No.
No.
Hang on, I'm making sure this is the same year because I don't see Citizen Kane here.
Tranquilo.
Yeah, I don't see it on both 1941 and 1942.
Oh, well, they didn't even get nominated then. Yo pensé que sí. But it did win Best Screenplay. Eso sí yo me acuerdo full. It won Best Original Screenplay.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Interesting. But at least for a person who hasn't seen every movie, or at least every movie in 2010, Social Network would be one that I would be interested more to watch than The King's Speech that I haven't seen yet. No me interesa.
So what do you think about Black Swan? What appeals Black Swan to you?
Well, apart from it being very relatable,
Mhm.
pensé que la escenografía and the camera work were beautiful
Oh yeah.
back then and now.
Mhm.
Like it aged well.
Yeah.
The story aged well también.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
The performances were absolutely iconic,
Mhm.
incredible. It's the first time I ever saw Mila Kunis act as well.
Yeah, before that, she was just known for comedy roles in like That 70s Show and
Yeah,
stuff. Right?
Exacto.
exactly. Like
Yeah, that was. I remember seeing that movie. I was like, oh damn, Mila Kunis got chops.
Yeah.
for sure. And especially being in Punta, which I should know, I used to be 10 years in ballet school.
Yeah, maybe she should do a Black Swan. Her characters from in an NFT. Apparently, she's gotten really into that.
NFTs.
Oh, okay. Of course. NFTs, the craze. Great.
Yeah.
Lo único que falta es que lleguen los NFTs para la cineasta, cine, de todo.
And that's already happening, by the way.
Ah, no, mira qué bien. I don't follow that
Yeah.
stuff because
I believe que una de las cosas más grandes que salen en NFTs, si me equivoco, I think Kevin Smith he shot a movie and I think he sold it in the blockchain to the highest bidder. I don't know if that already happened or if it's going to happen, but he shot a movie. Basically, all the raw footage, he's gonna sell it to the highest bidder para que esté en el blockchain, and they can do whatever the hell they want with his unfinished movie. It's not Clerks 3, it's something random that he did, I think, or he's going to do. It's a weird concept, but
You think that's gonna win the Oscar whenever it comes out?
I mean,
actually poses this to the for normal consumers to watch, then
Good
I'm
Okay,
alright.
so I looked it up.
Yes.
I found it. It was nominated for Best Picture on the 14th Academy Awards of 42.
okay,
It lost to How Green Was My Valley.
there you go.
I am enough of a film buff to kind of find that title vaguely familiar.
Okay.
It
Sure.
might have been precisely in film school when somebody said, "Can you believe it?" And Citizen Kane lost to How Green Was My Valley.
Yeah, that was probably the line. That was probably the sentence, and that was it.
1941.
Eso fue todo lo que escuchaste, pa.
1941 American drama set in Wales, directed by John Ford. The film is based on a best-selling 1939 novel of the same name.
There you go.
Okay.
I mean, hey, John Ford, you got to consider the fact that John Ford was pretty popular in those times, and he's a really good director también. No voy a quitarle valor a John Ford para nada. Pero, pues, es que hindsight, it's just one of those things donde tú ves la película.
Oh shit! This was the same year Maltese Falcon was nominated.
Yeah.
That
Y hasta
was-
Maltese Falcon ha tenido más longevity in history.
That is like the great grandfather of the noir genre in
Por
Hollywood.
eso, te estoy
didn't know
diciendo. Ya, por eso que te estoy diciendo. Pero pues eso pasa. Es que pasa constantemente con los Oscars. Pero that's why I like the Oscars en cuestión de que ellos son un buen outlook de lo que pues un consenso de críticos, que en esos tiempos eran críticos y también la gente de industria, considers to be the best. It's at least a list para dejarte llevar. Después de ahí, if you are interested in further exploration, para ahí tú coges esa lista y te dejas llevar y expandes en la lista. That's why I like the Oscars en ese solo aspecto. That's it. That's where I draw the line. I don't care what wins, because para mí eso es irrelevante. They rarely ever get it right. Para mí casi todos los años fallan exponencialmente. So, I'm like, look, if you're interested in watching otra cosa que no sea Spider-Man for the 5th time, look, here's a list of movies that they're pretty good. They're pretty acceptable.
Not necessarily an award show, but like, okay, aquí está la lista de Best Picture, aquí está la lista de Best Animation, Best this, Best that. Just
Exacto.
for you to interpret yourself.
Exacto, y tú lees la sinopsis, anything piques your fancy, quieres ver algo que no has visto porque está out of your comfort zone, que pasa con mucha gente, because I completely understand que todas estas películas no la ve la gran masa de gente. La gran masa de gente, si acaso, ve la que gana, y cuidado. That's kind of it.
You
Like,
know.
Yo sé que usualmente la película que termina ganando gets a boost. And that usually ends up happening. Me pasó hasta con The Hurt Locker. Cuando The Hurt Locker ganó, si no me equivoco, en ese momento era la película que menos dinero había hecho ever in the history of the Oscars. Después que ganó, it got a gigantic boost in like DVD and Blu-ray sales, porque obviamente fucking ganó. So people are aware, maybe not anymore, porque ya como tú dije, del 2010 para abajo, it's become a nosedive. People don't care about that shit anymore. Pero back in the day, cuando una película ganaba, tenía un cierto prestige, que por lo menos some people would be legitimately interested in at least being like, oh, that shit won. I read it in the morning paper. Okay, I'm gonna rent it or buy it or whatever.
I mean, there was like a shift. I'd have to check. I seem to vaguely remember Lindsay Ellis' video essay where she mentions like when the Oscars started, a bunch of the movies that were nominated were also the highest grossing movies of that year.
Claro.
It's as the years went on where that kind of divide between la más taquillera y la más prestigio como que se iban separando.
Claro. So, pero también considera que no se hacían tantas películas antes.
También.
Sí, y las películas que generaban popularidad era porque las que estaban mejor hechas. Acuérdate que this was a time period donde estábamos todavía experimentando with how to make a story, how to tell a narrative, how to tell a character arc, how to explore genres que were being invented at the time. Exactly. Los mejores que lo hacían, pues obviamente más gente por word of mouth decía, diablo, escuchaste esa película de Cine que está bien cabrón because I've never seen that shit in my life. Y después todo el mundo va, lleva a su familia, dan los 5 chavos in the movie theater, they see that shit in droves, and then it's like, whoa, cuando sale, por ejemplo, Wizard of Oz, it's like, holy shit, did you know that movie they put shit in color? What the fucking color? And they just run to go see it, ¿me entiendes? So, obviamente, son las películas que están bien logradas bajo, ¿verdad? El genre o lo que en ese tiempo se exacto. So, obviamente, they would excel. Pero es verdad lo que tú dices, eventualmente there was a divide, y también el divide se construyó cuando se empezó a construir el blockbuster. Y también estaba la cuestión de lo que era un prestige cinema y lo que sería algo más para las masas, que era algo más simple, más diluido, porque al tú tener que expandir y exportar tu película, you gotta make it a simpler narrative para que cuando se exponga a otros sitios sea una historia que sea sencilla across the board, que in any language you are able to understand and follow very simply what's happening. Pues si tú ponías muy complicado o muy específico una cultura, ya sea American culture or American jokes or very specific shit, no va a pelar because people from el exterior no van a entender la mitad de las cosas, ya sea culturalmente, chistes, sayings, storylines or whatever. So you gotta like make it simpler, make it dumb. Shark is trying to eat people. That shit's a hit. Let's go. ¿Me entiendes? Como que sometimes you gotta go very simple.
Yeah, but even then, that does a disservice to some of those great blockbusters that are still remembered to this day.
I agree.
Like Shark eats people, yeah, but there's also like this drama about a police officer who feels impotent because of his phobia of water and how he steps up to the plate. A story of like these people coming together to save a town who would lose all their business if this shark keeps eating people on the beaches. So it's like there's stuff there.
You got the other side of the coin that is the worst made movie, in my opinion, of all time, of sharks just being sharks into a tornado and destroying everything.
Yeah, but that wasn't even a blockbuster theatrical. That was released straight to some shitty TV station.
Exacto. Pero acuérdate que por lo menos cuando yo salía, there was still a director's intent. O sea, there's still an artist trying to do a story. Es cuando tú empiezas a distill que los estudios se dan cuenta, wow, we can monetize this shit even further than we ever thought. Dumb it down, make it simpler, make it more wide appealing, make it across something that all ages can enjoy.
Yeah, it's funny because I was watching a
once
video.
It gets complicated, it's just.
Exacto.
Yeah, it was funny because this morning I was listening to a list of movies that were ruined by studio interference.
Okay.
Yeah, stuff like I Am Legend.
Of course.
The ending was so profound in the original because like the monsters were actually like this new evolution of people, and he is the legend because he is their boogeyman, and he has to sit with that thought. And it's like, oh, that's profound. What did the studios do? Test audiences didn't like that ending, so just have them blow up.
Yeah. And it made a shit ton of money. So
somehow.
But it's not remembered as much as it could have been if it had that like profound ending. Yeah, it could have confused the average viewer at the time, but it would have been something that years down the line they would have looked back and gone, hang on a second.
That's why we in Cine Nerds look down at you plebeians who enjoy trash.
Nah, not even. Well, at least I don't.
Okay, fine. I do. I feel.
I do it behind curtains.
Okay. Pero no, you're right, you're right. Pero pues eso es la cuestión de que the studio in the pursuit of more money, you know. Entonces, y si te das cuenta, there's this great TV show in Netflix, este streaming show llamado The Movies That Made Us, que I know you both have seen, where they talk basically the joke of almost all these episodes, which are classics of cinema, por lo menos contemporary classics, es que all of them start with the studio telling them they don't want to do it. Like most of the episodes are like, well, we wanted to do it, but the studio said no to us like 5 times before we actually just went ahead and made it. But it was like an uphill battle.
And then they're filming it, and it's like, at halfway through making the movie, the studio said we're gonna shut you guys down if you don't do this or that.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like it makes you appreciate. I mean, I as a filmmaker, I've always appreciated any movie, no matter how shitty they are, because I know how hard it is to make a movie. Pero para la gente que pues your average Joe que no sabe el procedimiento, they just see the final product, getting that little insight de que even Home Alone, which you see it and you're like, obviously this was about to be a hit. Why would anyone doubt that? Well, yeah, the studio doubt every single phase of that production. They didn't think that thing would be a hit.
It's one of the most classic Christmas movies that everybody watches.
Por eso. Pero they didn't know at the time. They hear the pitch and they're like, what the fuck is this shit? This is insane.
This is too much. We're not going to support this. But then, no.
Yep, and then they're like, and suddenly they're like, hey, you know that movie that we all agreed was a good idea? Let's make more.
Exacto. And then they just run it to the ground.
Find it, and let's make more.
Yeah. Let's run it to the ground. Let's make hasta Home Alone. Yo creo que salió un Home Alone el año pasado en Disney y todo. Imagínate.
Yeah, and it wasn't very good.
Of course. Why would it be?
They seem, from what I understand, they seem to have missed the point that the joke came that these criminals wanted to kill the kid and he is defending himself in a Looney Tunes-esque fashion.
Yes.
While in this remake, the burglars are just a husband and wife duo who want to get something that's in the house that legally belongs to them. It's in that other house by mistake. And they just want it because it's worth a lot of money and it would save their house that is about to be foreclosed. So this poor husband and wife duo are just trying to have a Merry Christmas and not be kicked out on the streets, and we're supposed to laugh when they get horribly mutilated by the kids' traps.
So, you know what? In the hands of a more seasoned director, this would have been an amazing film.
It could have been like in a more seasoned director. It could have taken a very dark turn.
Exacto, por eso.
But like with very dark humor. The only cool thing that I've heard people say is apparently the guy who played the big brother in the original movies is in this movie. He's playing a cop.
Okay.
And they explain the joke is, well, in this day and age, why doesn't the kid just call the police? He did, but because the one who answered was Kevin's older brother, he's like, yeah, so that's probably just Kevin pulling. Every year he calls me to tell me that he's home alone and that he needs police escort.
Okay, that's cute.
That's the only one. That's the only scene joke that everyone is like, okay, that's cute.
Yeah, that's cute.
But then,
but I still want to watch it.
But then it's like that's the only good thing in that otherwise bad movie because studios only care about the immediate. They never think long term.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, immediate monetary.
Immediate monetary gain, not long term. With the exception now, but the only long term thoughts they have is cinematic universe.
Exacto. Yeah,
everything's only because somebody else proved that it can work.
Exacto. So now they all have to try it. And keep trying until they make it.
It's like, you fucking take a risk, you cowards. Yeah, but our shareholders will remember we didn't make enough money. You guys already have enough money to wipe your asses with $100 bills. It's fine if 1 year you don't make it more than the last one.
Well,
yo no sé si ahora, porque obviamente pasó lo que pasó por la pandemia. Pero...
Yeah, but still.
They're all technically struggling a little bit, but most of them have streaming services, so they're all getting a large percentage just for free, essentially, porque no están haciendo tantas producciones, at least some of them. So they can justify. Look, I don't love streaming services because, quita un poquito del theatrical experience, but one of the perks of having a streaming service es que ahora these streaming services se pueden tirar más riesgos que quizás antes no hacían because como they get a flat fee every month, they can be like, well, okay, so we know que, por ejemplo, Stranger Things is going to pull in people, but we can let this weirdo with this weirdo idea get a crack at it and make a season of something. Quizás pega, quizás no, we'll cancel it later, doesn't matter, pero abre oportunidad de que por lo menos estas otras historias se cuenten, que las promuevan, que las empujen, whatever, no, eso ya es otro issue aparte, pero por lo menos hay más espacio para crear. Y no hay ese miedo de que el estudio, un Netflix te diga, look, you gotta, give you the studio note, you gotta do, no, most of the time I've heard,
dan el dinero y haz lo que tú quieras.
yeah, like they give you a budget, they give you the premise, and they're like, okay, we like the premise, go do that shit, we don't care, like we don't, like we're not gonna oversee shit, like you do it and it's fine.
They're more open about it now.
Exacto. And that's kind of something that I dig, pero eso nada más ciertos streaming services, porque por ejemplo, still like Warner Brothers wouldn't do that shit. Like they're gonna take their risks on maybe TV shows, como mucho, or maybe one or two Oscar baity movies, but that's about it.
I mean, just look at the state of their DC universe.
Por eso, yeah, and that's supposed to be the thing that's gonna make them money. ¿Me entiendes?
Pero yo digo lo mismo con Disney. Disney has been censoring everything regardless, even with streaming service.
Exacto, yeah. Pero ya tú vas a ver que eso no les va, eventualmente no les va a salir bien, ¿me entiendes?
No, no, para nada. Yeah, they were erasing and then putting back something. No me recuerdo ni qué película.
It was a gay kiss in the next Buzz Lightyear movie.
Exactly.
Right. Now they put it back in because people bitch and moan, and they're gonna put it back.
Like, why take it out? Pero they're noticing now. Let's see what happens, though, because
apparently the new CEO
has angry face.
Yeah, apparently the new CEO is kind of a coward when it comes to how people, like, he really doesn't want to offend people. He hasn't said anything about the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida, and it's coming back to bite him in the ass.
But question though, do we care that a capitalist has anything to say about anything?
Not really.
I personally don't. Okay. But I'm just saying that it's coming back to bite him in the ass.
Sure.
It's only bite him in the ass in like a social setting, like in a Twitterverse. But in terms of money, it's not. Esa es la cosa. That's why he's doing it and he's getting no backlash.
Exacto.
¿Me entiendes?
Como que no le va a herir tanto porque obviamente Disney monopoliza cada cosa que ellos fucking compran y ellos tienen dinero.
Así haciendo chavo, exacto. Incluso, if Buzz Lightyear doesn't make money, it's only going to further his justification de entonces no meterse en nada. ¿Me entiendes lo que quiero decir?
Exacto.
Porque he's going to look at the numbers, va a ver a shareholders, okay, that's why I don't say shit. My tactic's actually working.
But
so
that's bad too, because then you don't just give the opportunity for any other things you want to touch, any other artist or any director to grow. And Disney, is...
Pero we shouldn't rely, aquí es el punto más grande, and I know that's my only take. We shouldn't rely in Hollywood para que cuente las historias que queremos que contar. We have international cinema. We have our own local cinema. We have even like hasta Netflix que se tira más de pecho en todos los endeavors porque they do basically literally everything.
So hasta puedes meter a YouTube y ahí tú puedes pegar.
También, sure.
The biggest problem is giving. The biggest
Yeah.
problem is giving those other mediums the push they need because Hollywood is so overcompensating everything.
Pues por eso que te digo, like there's earnest efforts que entonces son reconocidos, pero entonces como que no son reconocidos de la forma, es que todo es un desastre. Es como que, okay, lo de Buzz Lightyear, está cool, I love it, it's great, but I can't feel to think that you're just placating, ¿me entiendes? It's just porque, por el que siempre es lo mismo, siempre es una cosa de que you need to say it 6 months in advance so you know it, so you go see the movie. It's nothing that's born out of like, we wanted to tell a narrative que tiene que ver con esto y se acabó. Or maybe not even address it porque Eternals was cool. Eternals never did a big hubbub about it. They just had the character who was a queer character existiendo, and he was a kick-ass guy that blew up everyone because of Hiroshima. But besides that, like he's a cool-ass character. It's like no one said like, oh damn, look at that progressive like character and he kissed a guy. Because whatever, fuck that. Pero siempre esta necesidad, ese mi lado cínico, que entonces Disney to overcompensate. They're like 6 months in advance telling you que Buzz Lightyear is gonna have a queer kiss, so you need to go to the cinema and go see it because you need to like aportar. It's como que that that pisses me the shit off, porque entonces there's actual queer media that you could be consuming, pero lo estás pichando because you need que sea Mickey Mouse el que te lo prueba, nadie más. It can't be anyone else. Y es como que ya eso existe hace décadas. There's decades of queer cinema. Puñeta. Pero no, es como que tiene que ser, si no es, como es Beauty and the Beast, which I think had a queer kiss too, or a queer I don't even fucking know. Y es como que, if it's not that, o un besito a lo último de Rise of Skywalker, pues entonces, diablo, Hollywood está fallando. Mi gente, there's places for this, okay? Hay buen cine en todos lados. That's it.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Es que buscar la validación de Hollywood me molesta porque tú puedes conseguir la validación en cualquier sitio. Existe, el cine existe, lo que tú quieres ver existe. Es que esperar que sea Disney o que sea Warner Brothers o que sea Paramount
que sea una compañía multimillonaria que siempre ha estado ahí.
Exacto, que haga lo que se le pegue el culo, que haga lo que sea, fuck it, like it's not gonna be earnest because they know they're only doing it para bustear sus números. Versus artistas, creadores de verdad que quieren contar una historia que viene del corazón y viene una historia que es relevante a sus experiencias, que probablemente empatices mucho más, eso no lo ven.
Y no tan solo eso, hay un montón de, por decir, Disney, que siempre está ya con la misma mierda de superheroes and you know, I'm a Star Wars fan, but Star Wars, they're just staying in that
little box.
Safe zone.
Sí, claro.
Because it gains money, but they don't give that chance anymore.
No, para nada.
Or ever. I don't think they ever have.
I agree.
Por lo menos Disney. De por sí. Yo me imagino que otras compañías, maybe.
Sí, like lo más que yo veo es Hulu, que es parte de Disney. Pues hay algunos endeavors ahí bastante originales, bastante creativos. Pero en cuestión de, por ejemplo, you know they did the Fox acquisition. Cuando compraron Fox, todo eso se fue a la mierda because they destroyed basically todo el scheduling que tenían de esas películas. There's going to be like 2 Fox, no, es Searchlight Pictures. Searchlight Picture movies van a salir este año, like 2 of them. And one of them is Avatar. So, entiende, like, es como que they bought the property basically for X-Men and Avatar, botaron todo lo demás, so todo ese creative endeavor, toda esa gente que estaba trabajando por lo menos en cositas que eran diferentes, se fueron a la mierda completamente, because like you said, they just want to do the shit that brings them the money and they want to do the safe bets. Hasta que eso pare de generar dinero, they're not going to change.
Por eso es que digo, también, it's all for,
of course.
Trend.
The most tragic thing about that when studios acquire other studios is like now they own certain IPs.
Yes.
And it's like they have no plans on touching those IPs, but they can't let anybody else touch those IPs.
Exacto. I agree.
It's like it's bad. Like it's bad enough that you won't do anything with this IP, but at least let somebody else touch it. No, because then they might make money and we won't get all of it.
Exacto.
Uh-huh.
Full. Like, they're doing Alien, yo creo, pero eso es con la muela atrás, ¿verdad? Because they weren't going to do like anything with Alien, pero después se dieron cuenta, I mean, Alien deja chavos, so let's do something with Alien.
Yeah, y para el colmo ellos te dejaron eso un cliffhanger también.
So there you go.
De Covenant, si no me equivoco.
Sí, pero eso ya lo van a pichar. I'm pretty sure they're just going to do something reboot or re-sequel, I don't even
Another
know.
one?
Exacto.
Like another one?
Sí,
yeah, we
eso.
just have to, you know what? Let's just burn it down.
Exacto.
Burn it all down and
It's sad because
over.
they actually did a well job, in my opinion, for the last Alien movie. And they could continue it because why not? But
sure. I mean, they're gonna continue it, pero creo que es un show, por eso que te digo. Pero es one of the few properties que se dieron cuenta que they could do something with it, pero como dice Josué, hay un montón de propiedades de Fox que ellos la absorbieron y como él dice, they're just keeping in there and like, nah, you can't play with my toys. Are you gonna play with them? No, you can't either. So, screw you.
Selfish little kids.
Yeah.
They're just selfish little kids.
Exacto.
Once you kind of break it down and simplify it.
Yeah. Pero por eso digo, like, lo que son, if you all want to see some interesting endeavors que no son parte de estudios grandes o masivos, just look at shit that A24 does. O si te quieres ir más obscure, stuff que sale out of Sundance, out of South by Southwest, que no todo es A24, pero ¿sabes? A24 porque es lo más famoso indie que hay, pero
y lo que ha tenido también bastante like good movies coming
exacto.
out.
Where would somebody usually be able to access those movies?
Pues mira, lo que tú haces usualmente, this is what I do. Yo voy yo voy y leo la lista de lo que estuvo en Sundance, lo que quizás ganó, para por lo menos dejarme llevarle por lo menos some metric, ¿verdad? Y entonces, estar velando con unas películas salen. Por ejemplo, Fresh, una película sale en Hulu, porque Hulu la compró, straight out of Sundance. En la película sale Sebastian Stan y... No es Dakota Johnson, si se llama, tiene otro nombre la muchacha, I forgot her name, she's a great actress. Y es como que like this weird horror movie, but it's disguised as a romantic story. Eso está súper cool. Entonces, ¿qué hizo Hulu? Que hizo Searchlight Pictures, they bought it, y así mismo lo pompearon en Hulu. Obviamente tenemos Chacha Real Smooth, que es una de las películas que ganó un award en Sundance, y Apple la compró, porque they're betting on that being their quota of this year. So, what you can do is always check esa lista, cosas que te gusten, las marcas, te acuerdas de ellas, entonces más o menos you follow the progress. How can you follow the progress? Vete a páginas como IndieWire.com. IndieWire.com, they're always kind of like chequeando estas películas independientes, where they're heading, if they're getting for VOD releases, if a studio bought them out, whatever. Entonces, así tú ves la trayectoria, pero cuando salga esa película, la puedes ver. Like, otra película que está bien fantástica, que la compró Nat Geo. So va a estar probablemente en Disney Plus. Se llama Fire of Love. Great documentary about this couple que son unos volcanologists, y tú ves la trayectoria de ellos, de cuando empezaron su relación y su profesión de ser volcanologist como pareja por 30 años. Y el gimmick es que toda la película es pietaje de ellos, porque ellos estaban documentando cada excursión de ellos. And it's a fresh perspective de cómo esta gente estaba up and close in volcanoes, and the footage is freaking phenomenal. Like, it's impressive how close they got to lava and not being burned to a crisp. Y es como que películas así fantásticas existen, películas súper originales, bien distintas, existen, pero people just need to do that slight effort para por lo menos verla. And I applaud que por lo menos A24 consiguió la pauta donde some people que por lo menos ven como que very commercial cinema are aware que A24 existe, ya sea cosas como Hereditary y Midsommar, que por lo menos es un bridge para por lo menos empezar a ver otro tipo de cine. So that's cool. And people like Denis Villeneuve, claro, pegó ahora con Dune, pero ya desde, por ejemplo, Arrival, que es una película que no es una película de que basada en nada, hizo un montón de chavos, y una película que mucha gente recuerda y le gusta mucho. Y es una película que es bastante original en la premisa que tiene. So, existen esas películas que a la gente le gusta y que son diferentes y que no es más de lo mismo. Pero sometimes people need to look for them instead of expecting Hollywood to make them for them, you know?
Yeah. So, long story short, watch anything that doesn't have to do with big productions or big companies.
Yeah. Hay cine para todo el mundo. There's anime. Look, el último punto, perdón. ¿Qué gran indicativo te da a entender que la gente quiere ver otra cosa? Están con la ansia de ver otra cosa, que Jujutsu Kaisen Zero was last week, si no me equivoco, the number 2 in the box office. Hizo 21 millones en un fin de semana. Lo único que le ganó fue Batman, porque Batman, todo el mundo está con el craze de Batman. Pero Jujutsu Kaisen, y esto ya es la tercera película, si no me equivoco, anime que está en un box office like top 5. Porque la otra fue My Hero y después la otra fue obviamente Demon Slayer, que dominó bien cabrón. So es como que la necesidad es tan cabrona de querer ver otra cosa en el cine que no sea un refrito de Disney o un refrito de Warner Brothers, hasta de freaking Paramount o whatever, que están dispuestos a fucking ver anime. Even an anime they probably haven't even seen, porque estoy seguro que mucha gente fue a ver el Jujutsu Kaisen y fueron a ver Demon Slayer blind, without even knowing what the hell they were seeing, just because it was something different.
It was something different. It's animation that's different from what we're used to. Like, oh man, animation. I love animation, but Hollywood does not respect it as much as it should.
No, not at all.
I agree.
Yo pienso que Jujutsu Kaisen estaba bellísimo, y el mapa tiene an eye for this type of series or anime.
Yeah.
Not like Attack on Titan, but that's a whole nother story that we can talk about another time.
Yeah. Le dan más cariño a Jujutsu Kaisen, for sure.
Le dan más cariño a Jujutsu Kaisen y a otro anime.
Yeah.
Porque si no me equivoco, yo...
She has opinions on Attack on Titan.
It's anime, because I watch anime a lot.
Yeah.
God of High School era también con mapa, and it was gorgeously made, and I saw that recently. So Mappa has a love and a skill for this type series for them apart from the other ones that they made that were like, okay, yeah, it's good, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But it's now more recognized anime movies. No, now more recognized in the movie theaters.
Claro.
It's the first time we've seen this. Well, not the first time, but it's the first time that we're seeing constant.
Exacto, ¿no? Y que están haciendo chavo en el weekend, porque antes serían las películas de, por ejemplo, Pokémon, o salía de Dragon Ball, o like, al principio cuando salían las primeras de My Hero, pero they wouldn't break the box office. Not a lot of people see it.
At all.
Pero
And
después de cierto
they
punto.
weren't straight to cine, to
Exacto.
movie theaters, because si no me equivoco, la de My Hero Academia, la primera que ellos sacaron, eso salió con Luzca.
Yes, exacto, porque Luzca fue el que trajo el effort forward de, because they were thinking in the future, ¿verdad? Porque para ese tiempo, that wasn't una propuesta que pensaron que Caribe Cine iba a sacar fruto, hasta que vieron la gente ahí going in droves to see that fucking movie. Porque
And
ya había un hype.
times.
Exacto, por eso te digo, so, es la necesidad de querer ver algo tan diferente que, mira, hasta, ¿cuál fue? Yo fui a ver The Godfather en CXC, porque es the 50th anniversary of The Godfather, la primera. Esa sala estaba llena. For a 50-year-old movie. What does that say about the state of people wanting to see something else? Que they're willing, una película que pueden freaking rentarla por $3 y verla en su casa, decidir ir, levantarse, montarse en el carro, ir al cine, pagar una taquilla de $13, $14 para verla en CXC y sentarse en una película 50 años. Solamente por tener una experiencia diferente.
About the experience.
As well,
Of course.
as well as it's
Mhm.
a lot of people know the Godfather by reputation. They know it's a classic. They're like,
Yes.
you mean to tell me I get the chance, this rare chance to see a classic on the big screen? I'm gonna do it. It's why whenever they re-release like Lion King and Jurassic Park on theaters, it always does well, because it's one thing to watch the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park on your TV screen. It's another thing to see that giant animatronic on that big screen.
Con todos los audios cambios que yo no sé si ustedes lo han visto que o lo han escuchado, they changed the audio full. Now it's surround sound, it's everything. Imagine watching Jurassic Park in that. You know that.
Like just watching that opening sequence from Lion King on the big screen again.
Yeah.
Like,
¿verdad? Por eso te estoy diciendo. Hay una necesidad. La gente está hambrienta por ver otra cosa y están dispuestos a verla. Se nota, los números están ahí, They don't like seeing trash anymore.
Ellos no lo ven. Nadie lo ve. Solo las personas que lo consumen.
Yeah. I agree.
But, well, according to the Academy, it's popular, therefore it does not deserve to win.
Yeah. It's a little insane. Did we talk about the fan favorite stuff?
We mentioned them, how they basically troll voted for Snyder.
Yeah. Eso todo parte del effort de querer. I don't know. I guess that the initial idea probably was que ellos pensaban que todo el mundo iba a votar por No Way Home, because obviously es la película más fresca en la cabeza de todo el mundo. Pero pues, you don't mess with Twitter. Twitter is a whole nother beast, and Twitter world is not like real world. So
yep. I am so glad I don't have one.
I have it out of necessity, pero I get you. Film Twitter is a whole can of worms. So
I barely use it.
I don't have Twitter. Just discussing film has gotten so exhausting. I can't imagine how it would be for me if I was on Twitter.
The conversations are horrible because en 160 caracteres you can't really make a complex, nuanced opinion.
And then Twitter threads are kind of annoying to read.
Exacto. So then no one reads them. They read the initial stuff. Y ya está.
And there's no room for what's the word I'm looking for? For nuance in these discussions.
Por eso mismo. You can't do nuance.
Twitter for Zola.
Yeah, it's like I can't just say, oh, you know what? I generally don't like Zack Snyder's DC movies, but there are things about the Snyder cut that I really do appreciate. I do like how he seems to have matured. No, it's gotta be like it's a masterpiece or it's fucking garbage, and it's like
no in between at all.
Don't kill me, you guys and or people who are watching. I haven't seen any of the Snyder movies, so
I mean, I can go on as to why I really don't like them, with the exception of the Snyder cut, and that's only because I feel like by the time he got around the Snyder cut, he finally grew up.
Okay.
His take on the DC films before that felt so childish.
Como que por lo menos pensó, hey, where can I take this for it to actually get something?
You know what? I don't want to get into this because that's not even the topic of today's episode. But basically,
Sorry, went through a couple tangents.
Yeah.
the impression I got is that he loved a lot of the comics like Watchmen and their Dark Knight Rises and stuff, but he didn't get them. He didn't get that them being dark and violent and gritty was meant to be a deconstruction of superheroes, and they're trying to say something with those elements. He just thought they looked cool, so he wanted to put them on film. It's like, okay.
I mean, I'm not gonna get into it because then the episode's gonna be too long. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna agree to disagree. And that's how I'll leave it.
If not, then that will be a whole nother episode. It's just
Full. That would be just another episode right now. So.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, so 2010. Obviously the King's Speech was terrible. Bells, tú dijiste que Black Swan. ¿Y qué tú dirías, Josué?
I'd say, as much as I love animation, like Toy Story, I would have to say The Social Network is the one that felt like the most Oscar-worthy based on like criteria that the Oscars usually go for.
I agree, yeah. Y la cuestión es que el tiempo dio razón a esa película, so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're still making memes out of The Social Network.
Oh, yeah, of course. Por eso.
Exactly, yeah. And it was 2021.
It was so amazing seeing the source of some of those memes. I was like, like the one where he's at the class and he gets the letter, "You're a dick," and he looks up like all confused.
And we all agree for 2021, right?
Yes.
Like it did deserve it.
Yeah. Wonder how time will look back on that.
On this one, I feel que va a ser Drive My Car, la película que va a durar más.
Mm-hmm.
I think que Coda, dependiendo de lo que haga el director next, it'll determine a lot que va a significar Coda para el futuro. Pasa es que la historia no es tan memorable. What's memorable is the characters and what the movie entailed para mucha gente. Pero I don't think it's going to be a movie de que aquí a par de años, cuando tú tengas, like, you know, cinemaphile discussions, no creo que va a ser la película que va a resaltar. ¿Me entiendes?
No, eso sí no.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we've exhausted everything that we could talk about, tangents and all.
Yeah.
I guess it's time for the send-off. Where can we find you, Orengo?
You can find me here with you guys in Cine Nerds. También puedo seguir en After School Club. You can also find me at The Movie Guy, que we did a live watch party de los Oscars, so you can, if for some reason you want to see that shit fest again, you can, you know, put the live feed and put us and, you know, just watch it again. You can also find me...
see his live reaction of the slappening.
Oh, yeah, I was in shock. Yo vi esa pendeja y dije, wait, what just happened? I just had to be like, what? And then we were like flabbergasted for a few minutes trying to figure out what the hell was happening. So it was kind of funny watching that going on live. You can also find me in Cinema Podcast. I just put up, I mean, depending on this episode comes out, I just saw this movie called Infinite Storm. I did a quick reaction on Twitter. It's the newest Naomi Watts film. It's a survival story. It'll come out on April 7th, Fine Arts. Además de eso, I did a 4-hour-long Best Picture Oscar analysis with a couple of film critics, Rafi de Criticólogo, Ángel Serrano de 10 a 15 con Ángel Serrano, Héctor Ha, like as if it was Francis Ha, he's on Twitter, y Magdiel de Cine PR. Yeah, it was a very fun, interesting discussion. It went by in 4 hours, but it was very brisk. It was very entertaining and very in-depth con cada película. And yeah, that's it. What about you, Josue?
As usual, once this is over, I shall go back into the great darkness and slumber. There I shall further study the past sins of the Academy for a next project. Okay. That or look for the Necronomicon, because I'm hearing rumblings that in a future episode we're going to compare the Evil Dead versus its remake. So.
Spoilers. Yeah.
Spoilers!
I gotta find the Necronomicon and see what all that's about. I'll let you know how that goes.
Definitely.
Don't worry. We'll find you in deep depths of the pit of hell.
Yeah, swallowing souls.
Definitely.
Yep. I will pluck you out.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, you can find me on Instagram at Libros de la Bruja. You can find me here bi-weekly or every time we can make a episode. You can find me on There's Sam, and also now that I can finally announce this in Cine Nerds, I'm a news anchor, I guess, in Get Fucking Show.
Yeah.
Martes on YouTube.
Nice.
Nice.
¿Cuándo es eso?
Martes.
Okay.
Todos los
At
martes.
what time?
7.
Okay. Where?
YouTube.
Okay, good.
And goodbye.
Aw.
Here to boost ratings, right? Midnight?
Yes. Aw, qué lindo.
She is adorable.
Lex is in here.
Lex?